Before swords clashed, there was another battlefield where status was won or lost. The wardrobe. No, medieval fashion wasn't just clumsy armor. It was a secret language. Every thread told who you were. Every fold whispered of privilege. Every color could open doors for you or slam them shut forever. In the next few minutes, you're going to crack that code, and by the end, you'll read any medieval painting as if it had subtitles. Welcome to Lost History, where you learn without getting bored with scenes you won't forget. Stick around until the end, because I'll give you a visual cheat sheet to spot class, trade, and power at a glance. Picture the gate of a walled city. An open market, the smell of damp wool and freshly tanned leather. A merchant in a fine cloth cloak with a fur lining crosses the square. A few feet away, a blacksmith's apprentice in a short tunic with soot-stained hands adjusts a worn leather belt. A guild woman wears a well-starched headdress, closed-toe shoes, and a pouch hanging at her hip. None of them have said a word, yet you already know their rank, their trade, and even if they pay more taxes than you. That's the silent language of clothes. Ignoring this code makes you blind. You could look at an illuminated manuscript, an altarpiece, or an illustrated chronicle and miss half the story. Even worse, in the Middle Ages, wearing the wrong garment could cost you a fine, your reputation, your job, and in some cases, even your freedom. In a moment, you'll discover how the sumptuary laws worked, deciding what you could and couldn't wear. And here's the incredible part. Medieval clothing didn't just dress you, it declared who you were. It was your business card, your ID, and your bank statement, all on display. First, the base layers. A linen shirt or chemise was worn against the skin. Over that, a tunic or kirtle. Shorter for rough work, longer to show respect. The length signaled hierarchy. The more fabric you could afford to waste on the floor, the higher your status. Did you know that? The belt organized your life. From it hung keys, a table knife, a coin purse, a needle, even guild seals. A wide, good leather belt with an ornate buckle marked you as someone with a trade or the money to afford one. The shoes. Reinforced toes for laborers, closed-toe shoes for those who could avoid mud and bumps. High boots for someone who traveled or owned a horse. A soft, well-stitched shoe in a muddy alley was almost an insult to common sense, and a sign that its owner rarely stepped in puddles. Your headwear spoke for you. A felt hat for artisans, a liripipe hood for travelers, a headdress and veil for respectable married women. In many cities, a woman's uncovered hair was seen as a sign of disrespectability. What would you do if a law forced you to cover your hair to protect your honor and your wallet? Now, for the legal hammer. The sumptuary laws. City authorities, kingdoms, and republics dictated which fabrics, colors, linings, and jewels each class could wear. Why? To freeze the social order in place.
Please, my lord,
A wealthy merchant was not supposed to look like a nobleman. An apprentice was not supposed to look like a master. If you broke the rules, you faced a fine confiscation of the item or public shaming. Picture this scene. A tailor is making a merchant a coat-hardy with polished brass buttons and a small fur trim on the collar. The merchant wants more. He asks for an ermine lining. The tailor refuses. He knows that lining is reserved for a higher rank. The merchant insists. The result? A visit from the bailiff, the coat is confiscated, and a painful fine is issued. Uncomfortable question. What do you think was punished more severely, the sin of dressing above your station, or the audacity of trying to look like you belonged there? The shape of the sleeve reveals the era, and sometimes the class. Narrow sleeves buttoned at the forearm, a more expensive cut because of the number of buttons. Wide hanging sleeves on late medieval elites because wasting fabric was a display of power. In a moment, you'll find out how colors were a social password. But first, a note on everyday protection. They weren't knights, but most people dressed as if life threw projectiles at them every day, because it did. Layering was a thermal and physical shield, linen underneath to absorb sweat, wool on top to retain heat and resist water. A well-felted woolen cloak deflected drizzle and wind. In the workshop and the kitchen, wool saved your skin. It's hard to set on fire, and if it sparks, it protects you. A tight linen shirt prevents snags, a rolled-up sleeve shows muscle, and your trade. Fabrics had character. Taffeta and serge for common use. Thick, felted wool for cloaks,
heavy wool,
silks and brocades
perfect for a
high
cloak.
status and ecclesiastical contexts. A padded gambeson of cotton or wool wasn't just for the battlefield. Padded variations were used by horsemen, travelers, and people who carried heavy loads. The stitching wasn't arbitrary. Short stitches in high-friction areas, reinforcements at the elbows and knees, double hems to withstand mud and wear. Here's a little prize for you. If you see heavy, worn-out hems in a painting, it means there's a hard life happening just off canvas. Ever wondered why there were so many bags and cords hanging around? There were no pockets. The pouch was your mobile bank. Its size and the finish of its cord said as much as its contents. All right, now for color. It wasn't about aesthetics, it was about economics and propaganda. Blue. Expensive in most of Europe. A saturated blue required multiple dye baths. More baths, more money. Not just anyone could wear a deep, color-fast blue. Red, madder root for earthy reds. Intense reds from insects like kermes in the Mediterranean. A red that didn't fade in the wash was a luxury that screamed power. Deep black, very expensive in the late Middle Ages. Achieving a uniform black required complex techniques. That's why urban elites adopted it as the color of seriousness and old money. And then came heraldry. On tabards, surcoats, and personal banners, it declared who you served or what lineage you came from. An embroidery of lions, fleur-de-lis, or crosses wasn't just a graphic whim. It was symbolic and legal protection. If you saw a group of men wearing livery colors, it was no coincidence. It meant a powerful house was feeding them and flexing its muscle. Here's the part almost no one tells you. Normal people hacked the system. They would double-dye cheap wool, reinforce hems to make them look heavier, buy secondhand at used clothing markets, and inherit garments through wills. A single tunic could last for years and change owners 3 times. Clothing was an asset. This might change how you look at museum displays. Every preserved garment was once a piece of capital. Silhouettes didn't stand still. They changed with the economy, with war, and with travel. Contact with the Islamic, Byzantine, and Asian worlds brought fine silks, more fitted cuts, and buttons in series. The button, that little king of tailoring, allowed for snug sleeves and torsos. A closer fit cost more. More workshop hours, more skill, more rank. And what if I told you that a simple basting stitch could mark the difference between a workshop brute and a man of the city? In the central centuries, the men's coat-hardy revealed the shoulders and cinched the waist. Later, the Uppeland exaggerated pleats and sleeves, pure controlled extravagance. For women, the kirtle defined the figure. The open surcoat revealed the dress underneath and, in doing so, showed off the luxury of layers. Later, you see ambitious headdresses, conical hennons, flowing veils, textile architecture that said, "I don't work with my hands." Discrete technology, enormous impact, improved looms, water-powered fulling mills that compacted cloth, more efficient scissors, finer carding combs. Production sped up, and with it, the desire to appear as more than you were. What do you think happened when fashion moved faster than the law? Now, for what no one tells you clearly enough, the sumptuary laws were political theater. They were enacted to appease nobles who were jealous of urban wealth, to control family spending, and to raise revenue through fines. Their enforcement was erratic. The merchant cities, while condemning ostentation, thrived on it. A city
these to the
council
main
might
storage.
prosecute someone for wearing pearl necklaces one day and celebrate a parade that cost 10 times as much the next. Hypocrisy with invisible seams. The clergy and the church hierarchy operated under a different code. Liturgical colors for rituals, incredibly rich fabrics for human reliquaries, but also coarse wool robes for mendicant orders. The tension between poverty and splendor for God coexisted within the same cloister. If you see silk embroidered with metallic threads, you're looking at economics and theology intertwined. The street was pragmatic. Clothes spoke, but they also had to function. A cart driver wasn't going to lose a day's work to show off a trailing sleeve. A sailor preferred fabrics that dried quickly and caps that wouldn't fly off in the wind. A peasant needed a skirt or tunic wide enough to work in, but fitted enough not to get caught in a plow. And the working women? An apron over their dress, sleeves rolled up, a tucked-in headdress, and a hidden or hanging pouch. At fairs, some wore discreet feathers or colored ribbons as a nod to both their savings and their taste. A well-dyed red ribbon in a world of earth tones was a small statement. The city versus the countryside.
Just a bit more.
In the city, tailoring refined the silhouette. In the country, life dictated the shape. If you see plain clothes, earth-toned colors, heavy hems, and solid footwear, you're looking at labor. If you see fitted cuts, aligned buttons, tall hats, and fabrics that fall like water, you're looking at representations of power. And if you see both in the same painting, the artist is telling you about a social clash. Have you ever wondered how much politics can fit into a sleeve? Let's recap with a practical guide to looking at things like a field medievalist. Fabric and drape. Lots of non-functional fabric equals power. Reinforced and worn hems equals work. Color. Stable saturation equals money. Intense red, deep blue, and uniform black are high-cost passwords. The cut and closure, buttons, and tailored fits equals workshop hours. Simple laces and brooches equals smart savings. Head and hands. Headdress, veil, hat, gloves. The headwear codes status and decency. The hands reveal the trade, accessories. A belt with tools, a visible pouch, guild badges, livery. A map of belongings and loyalties, furs and linings. From sheepskin on up, the social scale rises. Ermine and marten are silent titles. Context. A muddy street or a hall with a clean floor. The setting validates or contradicts the garment. The reward for sticking around to the end, a quick formula. If a medieval image confuses you, just apply CDCAF. Color, drape, closure, accessories, fur. In 10 seconds, you'll have the character's social history with about 80% accuracy. The Middle Ages didn't just speak through parchment. They spoke with wool, linen, silk, and fur. With invisible needles that stitch together hierarchies and desires. Now, every time you look at a painting, a tapestry, or a reenactment, you'll be able to hear that textile murmur, "This is who I am. This is what I'm worth. This is what I aspire to be." And now, the next time you turn the page of an illuminated manuscript, look at the hem first. That's where the truth begins. If you enjoy these deep dives where you learn without getting bored, give this video a like and subscribe to Lost History. Every day, a historical journey with scenes you won't forget.